where I am now, better than before. Through those open doors, where I am now, where I am now, I'm in a special place, a tender warm embrace, where I am now. It's now time for the most talked about radio show in the whole wide world. That's FYI Radio Show with your host, Miss Yolanda, the Lady Hinton. I'm Ed Everett, the co-host. The music that you hear in the background is none other than Miss Yolanda, the Lady Hinton, where I am now. I am now. And if you'd like to see us live in WGPL 1350 studio, WMVA 88.9 FM studio, all you have to do is go to Edward Everett's Facebook page, Miss Yolanda, the Lady Hinton's Facebook page, and you can see us live right here in the studio. And if you want to hear us all over the globe, all you have to do is go to www.1350am.com, 1400am.com, click and listen live. And now I want to introduce to some and present to others the host of the most talked about radio show in the whole wide world, Miss Yolanda, the Lady Hinton, and a pleasant good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. E. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Would you, could you, will you be my neighbor?
Let's welcome our neighbors. Let's welcome WGPL 1350 AM listeners.
Peace 95.3 FM, WPCE 1400, and WMVA 88.9 FM. Good morning.
Facebook Live is on and popping. Let's also welcome Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. We promise we'll shout you out.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. Go to YouTube, the newest channel. It's FYI Radio Show host Yolanda Hinton. You can always go to Crystal Records 1, CRISTO Records 1. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we promise we'll shout you out.
Shout out.
All right, Mr. E, what day is it today?
Today is hump day.
That's a new one. It's a little different, but we'll accept it. It's hump day, the middle of the week.
Yeah.
You all should be humped up and popping. I tell you what, the weather's a little different today. It's a little cooler than it was yesterday. It was absolutely a fabulous day in Hampton Roads. Got a chance to get out there in the atmosphere and walk and just enjoy the beautiful water. Today is a little cooler, but don't fret because we get ready to go back up in the temperature most of this week. So we hope you all are going to have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so very, very much.
So this is FYI's Wednesday segment. What's under the hat? Issues. I tell you what, issues with what? I tell you what, we're not talking about issues concerning men, but we are celebrating Black History Month. It's February, and this is the month that we celebrate who we are, where we've come from, and this is a great chance to teach others who we are. You know, I heard somebody just recently say, "Well, I don't get it. I don't understand why we have to do it. You know, why are we highlighting these people? You know, let's let that go. We don't do it for ours." And I was like, "Well, that's you, but this is us, and we're going to celebrate it. We don't care what you and nobody else says. We're going to celebrate this month, and we're going to teach our children." And we're going to educate them, even if, people in other places or other races have a problem with it. This is our history. This is where we've come from. And we have every right to teach our children and teach others that are willing to learn about our history.
And that's what it's all about, teaching everyone about where we come from, what's going on in the African Americans neighborhood community, and to learn more about the school, about what the inventions and things that we have already done. A
Absolutely.
lot of people has a tendency that don't want to teach it in school, don't want nobody to learn about you because there's something happening in the atmosphere that you're ashamed of folks seeing what African Americans has done over the years.
Or you to highlight what you've done to African Americans. We're going to talk about the history of how we got here, as a matter of fact, on today. And it's not a pretty picture. And it started, if I can go ahead and get started, Mr. E, it says African people became enslaved primarily through the transatlantic slave trade, where European traders captured Africans in their own continent, transported them across the Atlantic Ocean, and sold them as slaves to work on plantations in the Americas, primarily in the colonies that would become the United States. Due to the need for cheap labor to cultivate crops like cotton, tobacco, and sugar, this practice was fueled by racism and the belief that Africans were inferior, allowing them to be treated as property and subjected to forced labor under brutal conditions.
Well, that's how they did us. They caused us, they brought us over, they took advantage of us, and guess what? Now they trying to get rid of you again.
Oh, I doubt if they can do it. But I tell you what, I just thought about our Monday evening guest, Dr. Hezekiah Brown, was on with us on FYI After Dark, talking about reparations and what that looked like. We went back and we talked about the history of how we got here in slavery and the fact that, hey, we feel like something is due to us. You know, Pete mentioned one thing that we probably will never get, and he mentioned apology. He said that the African American people are owed an apology for what happened in the past and what still goes on now. And so, beside talking about apologies, he talked about reparations and what it looked like, and he talked about the rebuilding of family and education and civil rights and things like that. Access to funds for our children and our children's children through programs and things like that. So these are things that we look to have for our community, for our children. But I tell you what, we have worked hard so they can have those things. I want to go ahead.
When you look at it, we have worked hard. We have worked hard and still has to continue to work hard. The fight is not over. After all that we have done to make America what it is, and the things to that we have fueled the company with, a country with, then we still has to continue to work our fingers down to the bone in this day and in this season. You would think that this would be over with. Racism would be over with. You would think that slavery would be over with. You would think that there's a lot of things that they done then would be over with, but no, it's not over.
Absolutely. Some key points about the enslavement of African people, African involvement. There were some willing workers. It wasn't just a European coming over there. There were some people that decided, hey, let's partner up and let's get those folks over here, our own folk. Let's go ahead and get them over here. We're willing to sell out our own folk to get what we want. You can get what you want.
Do you really think that that's changed today?
Oh my
Do you
goodness.
really think that there's still people out here today that will sell out?
And I mean, and it don't have to be within the racial thing. People sell out on each other all the time
All the
in business and other things. And so, but that was one point that was made, that the African involvement. There were willing workers. There were Africans who decided, hey, come on over here and let me make some money and let me give you these folk as slaves, and you pay me and you go over there and you do what you will. It says while European traders initiated the transatlantic slave trade, some African groups participated by capturing and selling people from rival tribes. Now, they might not have given up their sons and daughters, but somebody else's sons and daughters in another tribe was definitely a part of this triangle. It says triangular trade. The system involved European traders bringing manufactured goods to Africa to trade for enslaved people, then transporting those people to the Americas to be sold for raw materials like cotton, which were then taken back to Europe to be processed into manufactured goods. Mr. E. Tell us about brutal conditions.
And they'll do it today. They will do it today. They have done a lot of things that to America. They said the journey across the Atlantic was incredibly harsh, with many enslaved people dying due to disease, malnutrition, and inhuman treatment on a slave ship. That's some of the brutal conditions that they had. They had packed three. They said they had about 3,000 people packed on one slave ship on top of each other, bringing them over from Africa to the America, packed every on top each other, not feeding them properly, with the hook round the neck and chains round the neck. So they brought him over that way, and that's what you call brutality.
The thing about it is your intentions and motivation from Jump Street. Okay, you need somebody to plow your land. You don't have enough strength or courage to do it yourself. Why bring people over here to brutalize them, to do all kind of things to them? Why can't you just pay for folk to come over? Or if you're going to enslave them, the minute these folk came on that ship, it was a living hell and a nightmare. Why? Because what was in your heart, how you treat people and how you felt as though these Africans were lower than you from Jump Street.
And that's the thing now. What's in your heart that causes you to misuse and abuse and treat people? You know, that stuff still goes on today. People with nasty hearts, with that treat people nasty. And they still doing today. When you look at Americas, when you look at how they want to make America great again, how can you make something great again and still treat people bad?
You got to remedy some of those things, and that's what we talked about on Monday evening, reparations. You need to remedy some of this stuff, but how can you when racism is still festering in our world and people talking about getting back to the way things were? We don't need to go back. We don't need to be harassed. We need to continue to fight. And we'll talk about where we are now, because we're still in the fight, Mr. E. Racism is still alive and kicking. And this is something that African Americans still look in the face of, even in 2025.
You would never believe that would happen in 2025 after the debt has been paid. You would have never believed that would happen. Once again, good morning to Miss Sheila Robbins, Miss LaWanda Tillett. Thank you so much for tuning in to the most talked about radio show in the whole wide world.
It says legal status. Once in the Americas, enslaved Africans were considered property and had no legal rights, meaning they could be bought, sold, or abused without consequence. And this is the problem. You know, this is where you look at somebody and you feel as though they are not even human. What is in your heart that you can think like that? Who told you that you had a right to be above? To be above. And that's what we have to deal with. You know, people that want to be above everybody else, other races, and making as though you know, they have been chosen to be the one to set all the rules, laws, and situations. You know, and so we have to continue to fight, because there are people that still want to keep us as non-important.
You know, Miss Hinton, and some of this stuff is still going around today. They're still buying people. They're still selling people. They still have that slave market, that trafficking.
Yes.
They still are doing the same thing that they did back in the days of old. It's here today in the future. They still putting folks in trailers and transporting them all
Yes.
over the world like they've been on the slave ship, but they're using a different tactics now. They're using other means and other ways to transport and to traffic folks. It's just like putting folks back on the boat, but they're not sailing across the water, but they're going from highways to cities and from cities to states. They're going from destination to destination, still being abused, still being whipped, still being tied up, still being lied on, still being, whatever it
Tortured
took.
and tormented.
That's right. Still doing that like they did back in the days of old, and they still have not given you any rights nor an apology.
I tell you what, we've talked about trafficking in uh, this generation, and I tell you what, in this city, this state right here, we talked about how it is really prevalent in the city, in our cities where we have people that tourism up in that area. There's a lot of trafficking. This stuff is still going on. But as a people, as a whole, this was allowed. And let's talk about that, Mr. E, because, this couldn't have gone on unless there were people willing to let it happen. And so you had the European traders who came over and they wanted to enslave people to cultivate their crops and to do whatever they wanted to do. That's what we just said. And they wanted them to be their property, and they wanted to do all kind of things. And so it's amazing how these things can happen, and the whole world can sit back and see these things, and they just look and let it go on. This went on for a long time.
Just like crime. Crime is the same way. Folks are now sitting back and looking at it as if it was just another television show that they've been looking at on TV. When you can sit back and see folks harassed and see folks beat up folk, when you can sit back and see folks put folks into a slave mentality and tear up the whole community and nothing to be said, there's a problem going on somewhere. It's not an everyday lifestyle that everybody can say, I can take 15 African Americans and sell them and make them work in the fields and do what I want them to do, and that should be over by now.
Well, yeah, people sit back and they watch, and they do nothing about it. I mean, we had the incident over in Germany where there were millions and millions of people uh, killed and slaughtered, and people sat back for a long, long, long time and just watched it happen. And so slavery was the same way until there was somebody who said, listen, this can't go on. This is inhumane. How are you treating people like this? Why are you treating people like this? This is ungodly. And there were enough people who said, "Let's get away, get this out of our face, out of our lives." The abolitionists, they began to come and talk against um, uh, of people that were housing slaves. We had those that were advocating against slavery. You had people that just decided we weren't going to take this. We're not going to take this anymore, and we're going to see to it that this mess is abolished.
Back in the day when they was having folks and they found out that they was free. Folks didn't want folks to be free. Folks did not want the folks to be free. They want to keep them under lock and key, keep them bound, keep them, where they can have control over them. And that's why we're living in a day and age now where folks don't want to have folks being free. And if we ever come together as a people, this will be we'll have the whole community, the whole world in the palm of our hands. Because if you look back over our lives, we can see all the inventions, the things that they're using today in modern stores, and things that they use today in hospitals, and the thing that they use today right there in your own very home has been created and invented by an African American.
Well, the thing about it is, you can't take what God has put in anybody and say, don't use it. God gives every man gifts and talents. And so when you brought us over here, you brought some valuable things over here. You brought folk that were able to learn and be educated and educated themselves. They got opportunity through some of the European who had a heart toward wanting the best for people, and they were key in making sure some were educated and some had opportunity, and some of their talents were used, and they saw value in our music and our cooking and our singing, and us as orators and things like that. And so somebody woke up one day, like I said, and said, okay, now, wait a minute now. You want to coin these people as nothing and nobody and property, but these people are full of value and potential. And you can't stop God from the things that He's put in us from coming out. And that's what happened. Our gifts, our talents, and the ability to see God and light was there. You couldn't take that away from Africans. Those Africans that came over, you could not take the ability to come together and unite and have God as their source for survival.
Miss Hinton, and that's a great point. And I like that, because we should all build band together. We should never get to the point where we thinking that we're better than one another. That after all that our ancestors and folks before us has fought for, we should be on top of the world. We should never get to the point where I'm going to smile in your face and cut you too. Where folks are not pulling together as a great big world, as a great big nation, and we should all pull together right now and come together, and we should never ever have to fix share time to talk about African American, what the history of that should be an everyday story where we can let our young folks know, and our folks know, the world know what happened and how this thing came about.
Yes. And as bad as this is, the history, we are willing to talk about it. And that's what we want others to know. You may want to hide it. You may have been on the other side doing the dirt and deeds. But we, as those that have suffered, our ancestors, are willing to tell what happened, and willing to tell what was done to us, and willing to tell how we got over.
That's right.
And so there were a lot of things. Okay, we finally were freed. Our ancestors finally got the opportunity to be free. But there were so many challenges, Mr. E. But there were also a lot of major events that have taken place. We talk about where we have come from, where we are now, where we're going. And so some of the major events in African American history include the Great Migration, which African Americans moved to the North in search of better jobs and less discrimination. Then you have the Harlem Renaissance. This movement celebrated African American art and inspired future generations of artists and intellectuals. And this one right here, a lot of people are familiar with, the Montgomery bus boycott. Mr. E, that was awesome. It's led by Martin Luther King Jr. This protest led to Supreme Court decision that segregation laws on buses was unconstitutional. And let me say this, where we are now, we are still fighting for rights, for our civil rights. But I tell you what we can do. We can come together like they were doing back then. We can come together and we can make that statement that we are all created equal and that no one has a right to look down on anyone and cause anyone not to be able to be exposed to the greater things of life, the American dream, and all the things that come with it. And so when you push us to the point that we have to do something, we come out mighty and strong. That Montgomery bus boycott was off the chain. Martin Luther King brought churches together and people together, Mr. E. And I tell you what, they proved to America, to the world, don't mess with us. When we come together, we'll shut you down. And that's what happened.
And we don't mind dying for it. You know, the thing
Ooh.
about it is when I begin to look at the boycott and as what happened, I began to see how they took baseball bats and with barbed wires attached to it and begin to beat African American men and women
Yes.
with billy clubs and water hose and things of that nature because they didn't want us to have but
Yes.
ride on the same transit that they, it was a shame that the way that African Americans has been treated through their livelihood, lives that should make us be one great big strong body of people. We had to go through the back door, had to ride in the back
Yeah.
of the bus. You know, they had a label on the doors, colors over here and whites up here. You couldn't sit in the same restaurant as, but the timing is right. We can still sit. We right now can sit on the same bus. We right now can ride. Our money spends just like their money spends, and so we come a long way. We come a long way as people, as an African American group of people. So we should also let freedom ring. We should also let folks know about this throughout the
Yes.
years and years and years, and sit back and tell your sons and your daughters, look, this is where we come from. Look at some of the great inventors. Look at the woman who made the pacemaker. An African American woman made the heart pacemaker. Look at the lawn chair, how that was created and used every day when folks go to the beaches and things of that nature. Look at the Tuskegee Airmen who
Yes.
flew airplanes. It was so rough that they had segregated the army. Now we all at the military. Now we was one side was over here for the African American, other side was for others. Now we are all on one
Absolutely.
equal teal. So we did accomplish a lot. We still got a long ways to go, and we still should be able to tell our young folks, our young people, this is the history. This is where folks come from.
And this is why we celebrate, and we celebrate ourselves every day. But we do take the time in February to really highlight those that have come through the hard times and the struggles, those that fought for our civil rights, those that boycotted and stood tall, those that died for the cause, those who wanted to see a better world for you and I. And for that reason, we need to appreciate ourselves. We need to identify ourselves as God sees us. We've got to put aside what man is saying. Who do men say that we are? Who does God say that we are? We're not monkeys. We're not animals. We're people full of potential and full of greatness. And that's who you tell your children we are. Yeah, we were taken advantage of. Yes, our ancestors were pulled over here and done a number. Yes, yes. But we are still standing. We're still fighting, and we are overcomers. I don't care what you say. You'll never be able to take us and send us back nowhere because we have the ability to see God and light, and we will always be that
That's
type
right.
of people.
That's right. That's right. We will always be that kind of people. We will always do what we have been instructed to do. We will always rise to the occasion. We'll rise up and we'll let our voices be heard. We'll let our votes be heard. We'll let us as people be seen and be heard in the right fashion.
Absolutely. We're going to continue Black History Month. We're going to continue to tell where we've come from, where we are, where we are going. And we want you all to just embrace and celebrate because this is a wonderful time. God is with us, and we know that God is going to continue to be on our side. Look, be blessed. We're going to see you all on Fun Friday. We're going to continue the dialogue and give you more information, more wonderful facts on our history, and so on and so forth. Be blessed. Have a wonderful day.
For the past 30 minutes, you've been listening to the most talked about radio show in the whole wide world. That's FYI Radio Show with your host, Miss Yolanda the Lady Hinton. I'm Ed Everett, the co-host. Don't forget to join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9:30 to 10 right here on WPCE 1400, WGPL 1350, WMVA 88.9, and Peace 95.3, and on all social media platforms. If you'd like to be a special guest, or sponsor, or intern, or sit into our audience, all you have to do is email us at FYI Radio Show Live at gmail.com. Drop us your email, we'll email you back and let you know what day would be a great day for you to come on and be in our audience. Don't forget to join us. That's 9:30 to 10 right here on all social media platforms. And have a wonderful, wonderful hump day.
All right, all right. Look, thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much for your support. We're going to continue with our upcoming shows. We have a Valentine's Day segment, a cup of coffee love, on next week. Also, we're going to continue with Black History Facts, Black History Inventors and Inventions, Black History Tributes. And we'll be back for Sports Talk on Monday. Mr. E, are you ready for the game? Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm ready for the Super Bowl. I'm ready to see Philadelphia win.
Oh, all right,
So
Philadelphia, come through.
it's that's what I'm ready to see. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a barn burner, I hope.
There's going to be a lot of folk looking at it. They said the boys are in the yard. Folk are ready. Those guys are ready. They're excited. They're talking about Hurt from Philadelphia. They're talking about our KC friend. What's his name?
Patrick.
Patrick Mahomes. And they're talking about, going toe to toe. You all get ready, enjoy yourself, because we're coming back on Monday and we're going to give highlights and we're going to talk about who won, who lost, and where do we go, and how do you feel about it? How do you feel about KC being back again and Philadelphia being back? Some people say they're getting tired and they want some new blood, but hey, it is what it is, and we're going to sit back and enjoy it. Also, FYI After Dark, please stay tuned. We're going to have some great things going on. Hopefully soon we'll have Dr. Darrell Williams on, and we're going to be talking about bullying and harassment. Immigration, Mr. E, is something that we're going to be highlighting as well. We're going to also have Mr. Chris Hinton. He's going to come on and talk about, grooming and hair and business and real estate. Just a lot of great shows coming. Don't forget to follow us on social media. I have to give you all that post that just gives you every link to where we are so you can go and follow and subscribe. And don't forget to visit our sponsors, Bulvic Academy, BULVIC Academy.com, and beardgods.com, BEARDGODZ. Also, Mr. E can tell you how you can be a special guest, intern, or sponsor with FY Radio Show.
If you'd like to be a special guest sponsor of the most talked about radio show in the world, all you have to do is give us a call at 757-714-7861, or you can email us at FYIRadiosHowLive@gmail.com, or you can inbox us at FYI Facebook page, Miss Yolanda Hinton's Facebook page, or Edward Everett's Facebook page. Remember, if you'd like to be a special guest or a sponsor, if we anything that we need to do to help you to understand what's going on around the world, just give us a call at 757-714-7861 or inbox us, email us at FYIRadiosHowLive@gmail.com or inbox us at Ed Whatever's Facebook page, Miss Yolanda the Lady Hinton Facebook page, or FYI Facebook page.
I want to say good morning to Von Trail 1990, joined us on Instagram, and DJ underscore Bobby underscore D joined us as well. Thank you so much for your support. We're going to see you back here on Fun Friday. We're going to have a great show, What's in Your Closet, and we want you to join us at 9:30. Be blessed. Have a wonderful day. Are you frozen, Miss D?
No.
Two up.
Oh, two up, two down. VA.
Y'all have a great, great day.